Hello! So in today's reading lesson, you are going to be practicing using context clues to help you figure out meanings of unknown words. And we've talked a lot about using context clues, but I wanted to go through with you 5 different ways that an author can use context clues in their writing to help you better understand. So the word that we are going to be focusing on today is affable. Now this is a word that maybe you have heard before, maybe you haven't heard before. But we're going to go through 5 different ways that an author could help us better understand the meaning of this word, affable. So the first way that an author can help us understand is maybe they want to include the definition. So let's look at this example sentence. Mr. Fry is an affable principal. He is pleasantly easy to approach and is always friendly. So we can see that if we had just read on to the next sentence, the author gives us key words. He is pleasantly easy to approach and is always friendly, which gives me the clue that maybe affable means always friendly and always pleasant. Now, the next way that an author can use context clues is by giving a synonym or a word that means the same thing. So again, Mr. Fry is quite affable. In fact, he reminds me of Miss Baker. Do you remember how kind she was? So there, the author gave us a word that means the same thing, kind. Now, the author could also use an antonym to help us better understand. I miss Mr. Fry. Our new principal is cranky and unapproachable. Mr. Fry was so affable. So because it used the phrase, I miss Mr. Fry, it makes me know that Mr. Fry is very different from the new principal. Since the new principal is cranky and unapproachable, my guess is Mr. Fry was the opposite of cranky and the opposite of unapproachable. So it makes me know that maybe Mr. Fry was very pleasant and very approachable or very kind. Now, the next way that an author can use context clues is by giving an example. So again, Mr. Fry is an affable principal. He knows everybody's name. Ooh, there's a good example of something that he does that shows his character. If you have a problem, talk to him. So because I know that he makes an effort to know everybody's name and he's very approachable, or I can talk to him, that helps me know that he is very kind and very friendly. And the last example of a way that an author can use context clues is by an inference. So let's look at this example sentence. You don't need to worry about talking to Mr. Fry. He is an affable principal. So because the author told us you don't need to worry about talking to Mr. Fry, makes me able to make an inference that he is very approachable. He is very kind. Because I don't have to worry. The author didn't tell me that he was kind, but I was able to make that inference because the author told me that I didn't need to worry about talking to him. So as you're doing your reading assignment today, think about which one of these strategies you can use to help you figure out the meaning of unknown words. The other strategy you're going to be using in today's lesson is being able to really look at the illustrations or the photographs and figure out what is the author trying to teach me through the illustration or through the photograph. And there's a couple things that I wanted just to remind you about when looking at the photographs and the illustrations. The illustrations and the photographs are great for showing what is happening in the story. We can get a lot of clues by looking at the characters' expression, by their movements, what they're doing. And it sometimes helps the text make more sense. So really pay attention to those illustrations and photographs. It also helps create the mood. Now the mood is the feeling that the story creates. What is the feeling that the characters have? Are they excited? Are they frightened? Are they worried? Are they happy? By looking at their expression on their faces, like this character right here, because I can see his little sideways expression on his face, and he's dripping with sweat, and his body is kind of crouched inward, it makes me think that he's feeling nervous or feeling worried. And so maybe the author didn't tell me that, but because I was able to look at the illustration, I could sense the character's feeling. And that goes into the next point. It gives extra details. The author includes the illustrations in the photographs for a reason. And the reason is that sometimes we can learn things by looking at them that the author doesn't tell us in words. So make sure we're really paying attention. And it also helps us understand the character. By looking at their expression on their faces and their movements and what they're doing, it helps us relate to them. It helps us better understand what they're going through. And it helps us understand the setting. By being able to see where the story takes place, when the story takes place, and seeing the characters in the setting, it helps us better understand what we're reading. So make sure as we are doing our practice and our exit slip today that we are paying attention to what the illustration and the photographs can teach us about the text.